that house is she uses that house quite a bit for herself. So that was one of her
Mm,
motivators is she wanted to be able to spend time in Florida herself. So she's getting the
right.
double
Oh, smart.
benefit. Yeah. So it was just one of those chance meetings that turned out to be a wonderful friendship and a great business relationship.
My name is Kevin McIntosh, and this is the Closing Table, where we talk to experts about their experience in real estate all across the country. Let's go. All right. Hey, how you doing? Welcome back to the Closing Table. I am your host, Kevin C. McIntosh, and joining us on this episode, we have the pleasure of speaking with Krista Eash. How you doing,
I'm doing
Krista?
very well. Thank you. How are you today?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Flowing through the day, being productive. No complaints
All right.
myself. No complaints. So we are here to talk to you about what's going on real estate wise in your market. But I want to start off with an icebreaker that I have for you, Krista. It's called word association. Don't know if you've ever played this, but it's very, very simple. I have a few words we're going to blurt out, all related to real estate. And you just tell me the first thing that comes to your mind, whether that's a word, sentence, story, definition. I really don't care. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, let's do this. First one, MLS.
Data,
Closing disclosure.
legality,
Easement.
permission.
Mm. Depreciation.
I'm sorry, repeat it.
Depreciation.
Overtime.
Last one, real estate investment trust.
I guess that would be, I actually don't know. Real estate investment trust. I guess that would be something for the courts.
All
I
right.
don't really know. Okay.
Well said. To my understanding, it's basically like it represents stocks for companies that hold properties.
Okay.
You know, it's like a public holding for stock companies, for
Okay.
real estate companies, I should say. So
Great.
good. Thank you for starting off our icebreaker, Krista. We appreciate it. Now we kind of roll into our first segment where I have you actually take some time, 60 seconds or less if you can, Krista. Tell us who you are outside of real estate.
Well, outside of real estate, who I am generally is wrapped up in being a wife, a mother, and a grandmother. Those roles are super important to me and they really guide everything else that I do. Outside of what
Mhm.
might be called work or spending time with my family and friends, I really like to garden, especially flowers, and I like to travel. And one of my pastimes, I guess I would call, one of my favorite things to do around the house is to clean and organize things. I know it's weird, but I like it.
Hey, we need folks with those type of passions. So
I
you know,
know.
because it's not a passion of mine, I tell you that. But you know, doing some research on you, I did actually notice that. So I got to tip my hat off to you for that.
Thank
That's
you.
a very responsible kind of a
It's
passion.
very
And
calming to me to put things in order. So that's just
Mm.
something that I like. Yeah.
Ooh, talk about it. Oh, that's okay. So let's get into where you are. Let's talk about the market that you're serving right now. First, geographically, if you could tell us, you know, paint the picture for where you are in the area that you serve for people who may have never been there. And secondly, let's get into some of the economics. If you have any statistics or information in regards to what's going on economically there.
Okay, so I am in a very specific market niche, and that is the short term rental property market. And I'm licensed in both Michigan and Florida, so I can
Mm,
help folks purchase or sell properties in either of those two states. So my work as a real estate professional crosses a lot of geographical boundaries because even though I can't
right,
practice as an agent in any states besides Michigan and Florida, I can still do the research that's required for my specific practice in short term rental properties. And it's
right,
really amounts to a lot of research, a lot of data. The economic profile of the market is actually quite high. It's the opportunities for short term rental properties really are the opportunities are limited to people who either have existing properties that are suitable for short-term rental or they have investment funds so that they can purchase. The price point for properties that would be suitable for short-term rental properties, the price point is on the upper end of the spectrum. So it's
Mm,
very limiting to a lot of people. And motivation for searching for property, it's twofold. One is a lot of folks are looking in areas where they find personal enjoyment. They want to travel there. They want to have a place where they can go occasionally, or they might be looking for income potential. And those are sometimes opposing motivations. So that's something that we have to evaluate.
mm.
And since short-term rentals are my primary focus, there's a lot that goes into the market for each area because there are a lot of barriers to it, legalities, and every city, every state, every county has their own rules that we have to investigate. So it's a fairly complex market.
Okay.
Mhm.
Okay. Good. That's
If you
interesting.
want to
The
know, I
short
guess I
term.
should say too, as regard to where I am physically, I'm in Frankenmuth,
Mhm.
Michigan, and the market
Oh,
here is, I'll be honest, it's very tough here because not a lot of properties are sold um, in, say, a given month or even in a given year, and the market is so tight here that a lot of
mm,
times before a house even hits the market, a buyer is already waiting in the wings and a contract has
lined up.
already been
Yeah.
discussed. So it's real tough here. It's real tough for buyers.
Hmm.
Yeah. Great for sellers.
I've never been to Frankenmuth. I've heard about. I know a few people who go to Frankenmuth or live in Frankenmuth, but how would you describe it as far as like the demographic? From my assumption, I would think it's more of an older crowd who may have been there for a while, been there for generations,
Yeah.
may pass some of their homes down to
Yeah.
generations. That's
Exactly.
probably why it's so tight. Okay,
Yeah,
there you go.
exactly. It's a lot of families who've been around for a long time. Now there is,
Yep.
it's not necessarily older people, although I
Hmm.
fit the demographic very well, but it's a lot of longtime families in the area. But it is a
Gotcha.
tourist area, so
I
it
heard.
has a different. Um, I mean, if people who've been to Frankenmuth, they know it's a beautiful, beautiful city. It's a great place to live. We
Mm-hmm.
operate our home here as a bed and breakfast. So if you've not been to Frankenmuth, you should look us up and come stay with us.
Nice. Okay, you brought up a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
We got to inquire about them all. So let's get into it now. Regarding investment properties, you mentioned management services were one of your specialties. Also,
Hmm.
can you talk about how you incorporate your management services with investment properties? Like, do you offer your management services to clients who have investment properties? If so, what are those management services? And can you give any examples of how you provide those services to clients?
Right. That's a really good question because our services are varied. We can begin at the very beginning where a person is maybe thinking about getting into the short term rental market. And so that involves a lot of research, selecting an area that's either an existing or developing strong market. Breaking into a brand new market is very risky. It can be done, but it's
Right.
all, you need to go with your eyes wide open, right? So we help people identify areas, then in turn identify properties. If I'm licensed in the state, I can assist with the purchase. If not, I refer to someone who is knowledgeable in this area. And once the property is acquired, or if someone already has a property that they would like assistance with, we offer our services basically start to finish. We will furnish the home, we will
Mm,
accomplish any repairs or improvements that need to be done to make it a good short-term rental. For instance, the property that we most recently set up, the person who owned it before had turned a bedroom into an office, and in doing so, they had removed the door and made it just an open to the other room. So for short-term
okay.
rental, that's better off as a bedroom. So we rebuilt the
Yeah.
wall and reinstalled the door for this guy, and now it's a bedroom again. And we did some other things like there was a pond outside. We did the cleanup in the pond. We ourselves do a lot of the work in an effort to save the owners money so that they can get the highest return.
Right.
So we offer a lot of services as far as just the prep work and furnishing it and um, purchasing everything that the property needs, such as you would be surprised. how much money goes into just purchasing the linens, because you need basically two full
Really?
sets of linens for every single bed. You need enough towels to
Oh yeah, I
accommodate
bet the
three
tiles. Yeah,
times your
I
upper
bet.
guest limit. There's just so much.
Mm-hmm.
And
Woo.
when I place my order for linens and towels, it's shocking the first time you do it. It's very shocking. So we do all of
Yeah.
that, and then once the property is ready to open, we create and manage the platform listings. Platform just means, say, Airbnb or Verbo
Right.
or
Right.
booking.com or any of those. There's so many of them. I don't want to say I'm advertising one platform. We list on all platforms. And
Right.
also a direct booking website for folks who want to book direct with us. And we set up all the policies and the practices and procedures, put all the safeties into place, the extra insurance, all of that. We hire all of the
Nice.
local service providers, such as cleaners, pool service, lawn service, pest service, water service, trash service, all of that. We take care of all of that. And then we offer ongoing management services, which amounts to communications with guests, um, collecting and remitting taxes to the appropriate authorities, and reporting,
Mm-hmm.
and then dispersing payments to the owners. Hopefully that all makes sense. It's a lot. There's a lot there.
Oh no, no, absolutely, absolutely. That's new information, and we like to hear about and management services also, which I don't think we've talked about too much here on the closing table. If you don't mind me asking, you said your team pretty much does a lot of the work yourselves. Who does your team consist of?
It's my husband and me. And we will hire local contractors when needed. So the main ones are electricians and plumbers. We
For
always
sure.
make sure we have an electrician and a plumber kind of in our back pocket, because if you're
Oh
going to have a
yeah.
problem in the house and it's either electrical or plumbing related, you need them to be out there, like usually within just a matter of hours. So we always make sure we have local people who are reputable and can take care of us.
Nice, nice. Well, what about commercial properties? You have involvement in commercial properties also?
Not really what you would call traditional commercial properties. My home in Frankenmuth
Okay.
would be considered potentially, it's even though it's zoned residential, because we operate a bed and breakfast out of it, we have a city permit to operate. So we did, when we purchased the home, we made sure that it was going to be legal and that we were going to be able to apply for it. And then after we acquired the
Right.
home, then we went through the city to obtain our permit, and we maintain that year by year. And there's a lot that goes into that
Mm-hmm.
too, because there are plenty of regulations that we need to follow. And we submit our it's called a guest book. It's basically just a report from the booking platform saying how many guests did we have, how many nights did they stay. We don't give their names or anything like that, but you know what I'm saying. It's,
Right, right,
yeah,
right.
just the reporting. Yeah, so no real commercial properties.
Okay, okay. But still regardless in the real estate process and transactions, there's different steps that are required. Appraisals being one of them. Very, very important appraisals are. And could you talk about how your expertise in knowing about appraisals and appraisal services actually benefited a client, if you have any stories that you can share in that regard?
Yes, actually, this is a really good question, because I think it's important for agents to at least have a basic knowledge of appraisal practices. There's a lot of confusion. It sometimes seems like a mystery, but really it's not. And
Mm-hmm.
having the appraisal knowledge helps me to ensure that, one, a seller does not end up listing their house out of range for the market value, and that my buyers don't purchase out of range as well. A good story is
Mm.
actually the property that we most recently um, started managing for an owner in Florida. And he wanted to purchase a property. He gave me an idea of how, what his budget was and where he wanted to purchase and what kind of cash flow he wanted. And so based on that,
Right.
we identified a property. And in that area, um, for some reason, it's standard practice to overprice properties by about 10%. I can't say I'm a fan of that
Hmm.
practice, but I did an evaluation by looking at the data of the list to sale ratio and found out that that was in fact common practice. The house that we identified was listed. Can I give numbers? I should check.
Yes,
Okay,
please, if
it
you
was
want.
listed
Yeah.
for 850,000. And when I
Mm-hmm.
evaluated the market and the comparables in the area, I came back to the buyer and I said, this house will not appraise for 850. It will appraise most likely for around 775,000. So you can see it was overpriced. And he
Right.
said, okay, let's offer 700,000. So he was coming in. I mean, it's okay. It's okay. We won't go into all that. But so we did make the offer. We did make the offer, and the seller outright rejected. Of course, anybody who's been in the business for
uh,
any length of time knows that that just is not going to be a good feeling. So
yeah.
I
Yeah.
talked to him a bit more and I said, look, the house really is worth more than that on the market. So if you are interested in it, then we need to go back to the sellers and we need to basically make our apologies and offer a more appropriate amount. So he gave me permission to do so. I did
Right.
reapproach
Right.
the listing agent, and after a few back and forth conversations, we did go under contract for 775,000, and it appraised for
Okay.
775,000. So I feel like my
On the
knowledge
dot.
really paid off in that case. If we would have offered the asking price, the appraisal would have been short, and then there would have been hard feelings all around. So it does help make
Yep.
things go smoother. And the good news about that property is after a setup period and renting now since the end of April, the rental occupancy in that house now is at 80%. We are booked
Mm.
80% of all nights, and he's making good money, and he is very happy.
Man.
So yeah,
Ooh. Talk about success. That
yeah,
made me feel good. Like,
yeah,
yeah, look at you, Krista, putting that knowledge to work. Very valuable. And it's already safe to say, I just had a guest on. We were talking about appraisals, how they're subjective, how they're not like the end all be. You can't just take that as law. Sometimes you might need a second opinion or
yeah,
whatever the case may be. With this situation, you were the second opinion with your knowledge, and you actually, use that to the benefit of the client. And overall, everyone closed on a home. The sale was
yeah,
actually closed on. So I think that's the best part of that entire story.
yeah. Thank you.
Getting into Frankenmuth, this specific market, it's a little bit different. I do know it, if I'm not mistaken, this is the town where they have the Christmas Wonderland.
Oh
Is
yes,
that Frankenmuth?
yes,
Okay,
yep,
good.
yep,
So it attracts tourists from all around the country, and I know that's one
yes.
of the reasons, right? But can you share a story about a client who's interested in purchasing a vacation rental or an investment property in that town? And can you talk about how you guided them through that process to find the exact property they needed?
Yeah, well, actually, purchasing a vacation rental property in Frankenmuth, it's a very, very rare occurrence, and that is because of the strict ordinances and restrictions. There is actually a limit on the number of properties within the city of Frankenmuth that can be short-term rentals. So it's at this
Really?
time, if someone was to approach me and say that they wanted to purchase a short-term rental property in the city of Frankenmuth, I would have to inform them that they would have to purchase outside the city limits because they would not be approved. Um, but we
Interesting.
successfully did it, and only because there had been a short term rental property that had closed down within the year of when we purchased. So there was a spot open.
Mm,
And so
look
it's,
at you.
yeah, it's a little bit tricky here. But something that a story that I could tell that's, I guess, kind of just how things happen in a weird way sometimes. My husband and I were in Florida visiting one of our properties that we manage, and we had just arrived in Florida. We were at the Tampa airport, and at that time, the property that we owned and managed was in Lakeland, Florida. We no longer own that
Hmm.
property, but so we flew into Tampa, and had hired an Uber to get to our home in Lakeland, and we were just chit chatting there at the airport, and this lady who we did not know approached us and said, "I'm really sorry. I didn't mean to overhear or eavesdrop, but." you got an Uber driver? Because I can't get one. And I said, well, certainly we got one. Where are you trying to go? And she said, I'm trying to go to Orlando. I flew into the wrong airport. And so,
Ooh,
yeah, so we got to talking, and believe it or not, we offered her a ride with us to Lakeland, which is about halfway there. And we said, you will for sure be able to get a ride from Lakeland to Orlando, but no contract, no gig drivers are going to go from Tampa to Orlando. It's about a 2 hour drive.
right,
They're just not going
right.
to do it. So, believe it or not, she got in that car with us and we went to Lakeland. We talked the whole way about what we were doing as far as short term rentals. And when we got to our house, she came inside and toured the house. And she said, oh, I really want a home in Florida. I want to do what you're doing. And, we traded phone numbers, we traded Facebook friendship. And then we offered to drive her to Orlando. We didn't have anything else exciting or
Oh
important that we
wow.
needed to do. So we took her to Orlando to her hotel, and we started communicating just as new friends. And a few months later, she started looking for a home in Florida to operate as a short-term rental. And we went through the whole process with her. We did the research. We found a property. She purchased the property. It's all set up. It's been in operation for about 2 years now, and she operates at about, I think at that house it's about an 80% occupancy too. And
Nice.
but the good part of that house is she uses that house quite a bit for herself. So that was one of her
Mm,
motivators, is she wanted to be able to spend time in Florida herself. So she's getting a
right. Oh,
double
smart.
benefit. Yeah. So it was just one of those chance meetings that turned out to be a wonderful friendship and a great business relationship.
Yeah, that is super random. That is super random too, how that just
Yeah.
happened. But
I can't
everything is
believe
in divine
I
order.
can't believe that she got in the car with us. I mean, it, in today's
I
world,
know.
that's just it's unusual. It's
I was thinking
unusual.
all of that too, but
Yeah. Yeah.
some there are still genuine people out here,
Yeah,
right?
and
That just
I
goes to
think we just
show.
looked like we were okay. I don't know. I don't know. Yeah.
They look safe. Let me
Yeah.
ride with them.
Yeah.
But that's good though. That's good. It shows your aura is approachable, which you have to have that in this industry too, right? Like if
Mhm.
people just look at you and feel like they can't even talk to you, how are you going to really succeed? But
Mhm.
your presence, you were able to make them feel comfortable. You shared your knowledge, and as a result, not only did they become a client, but you actually got them a home. So
Mhm.
that's a wonderful
Yeah.
story to hear. I'm glad that worked out. You talked about being a bread and breakfast owner, so I want to ask about that. Can you share a memorable interaction or experience that you had with someone at your actual establishment, and how that experience influenced your approach and your real estate career?
Well, we have so many wonderful stories from the bed and breakfast. Our
I
guests
bet.
are so wonderful. Everyone is here, for the city, so it's a great place to be. Everybody's having fun. It's holiday, and so I don't even know where to start with the great stories. We recently had some guests from the United Kingdom, and they are our
Mm.
farthest away guests from basically kind of the other side of the world, and they were here as part of you might call it a bucket list trip. Her
Mm.
husband, they were here together, husband and wife. The husband was in process of completing visiting his 49th United State. So the only state that he hasn't visited up
Wow.
to this point is Hawaii. And I said, "Oh, you got to
Oh
go to
yeah.
Hawaii. You can't skip Hawaii."
That's the trip
So
right there.
yeah,
That's the trip.
yeah. So I think how it influences me is that I'm more
That's
aware that
crazy.
my little world is not the end of the world. There's just so much more out there, and we can make it work anywhere. And I think it's important for me as a real estate agent just to keep fostering my relationship with other agents in other parts of the country and maybe even in other parts of the world. I know nothing about the real estate market in Canada, and the
Hmm.
short-term rental market in Canada is strong. So if I wanted
Really,
to help
really.
someone, you know, acquire a property or manage a property in Canada, I wouldn't begin to know the rules for that area. So I would need to rely on someone local. So I think it's really a matter of, having so many experiences with so many people from a different kind of life or a different way of life. I mean, we get all kinds. We get a lot
I
of,
agree.
it's so cute. We get a lot of girls' trips. That's very popular here in Frankenmuth, as you might imagine.
Mm-hmm.
I really wish that we would get a guys' trip. We've never gotten one. So I would
Yeah.
love that. I would love it. I don't know what they would
You
do
say
here,
that
but
now until the bachelor party gets too wild.
well, I mean, we really can't have a bachelor's party, but
Well, I
we do have a hot tub in the
know.
back, yeah. So it's pretty exciting. But we
Oh,
have just
nice.
wonderful, wonderful
Nice.
guests. Yeah.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I love to hear that though. But yeah, 49 states. So
Yeah.
Michigan was his 49th
I
state,
think
and all he had to do was
I
get
yeah,
to
I think his
Hawaii.
I think Michigan was actually his 44th state. They were traveling
Ah.
through several states while they were here, and we were their first stop. And she we
Mm.
friended each other, through Facebook so that we could keep up. And she posted so many pictures from her visit to Frankenmuth. It's a very exciting city. There's a lot to do here, so
Yeah,
it's not
yeah, yeah.
surprising that they had such a wonderful time here.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course, of course. Man, I love to hear that. I mean, I know you're gonna. I would imagine you have so many different stories
Oh
with
yes.
your establishment and the people that come in
Yeah.
and out. But I know that was very, very interesting to be a part of their journey
Hmm.
like that. That's sweet. That's good to hear. I'm curious about your response to what I'm about to ask you. I like to ask this question. Uh, in regards to what inspired you or changed your perspective on life professionally or personally, but do you have a movie, a book, a quote, philosophy, or anything that you have consumed that you feel like may have changed your perspective for the better professionally and or personally that you like to share with us?
Yeah, sure, I will. I do have, it's one of my main philosophies just in life in general. I truly believe that I can live my life to the fullest, achieve my dreams and goals, and I don't have to step on anybody else to get there. Uh, a lot of times in
Truth.
every business, there's kind of this attitude that you shouldn't give anything away for free. You shouldn't give your knowledge away for free. You shouldn't help someone who has the potential of becoming your competitor. And that's heartbreaking. It's
Yeah.
just that philosophy is not for me. I believe in helping people.
Mm-hmm.
I believe in educating people who are asking questions. And, I was a beginner once and I experienced both stingy people and generous people. And I know who I remember with fondness. And it's the generous people.
Yes. Talk
I just
about it.
believe that there's a whole just a whole life practice of kindness and generosity that you can't give it away enough. Nobody,
Mm-hmm.
it comes back to you maybe in another way. It might not be in the same way, but holding on to things too tightly is, in my opinion, not the way to go. So that's my
I
philosophy.
agree. Oh my goodness, Krista, that was perfect right
Thank you.
there. Competition. We're in a capitalist country, so I get it.
Hmm.
Competition, it thrives people. It motivates a lot of people. A lot of people are competitors, like deep competitors. But that's not for everybody.
Hmm.
People who like to collaborate aren't about competition all the time. There's collaborators and there's competitors, and I consider myself a collaborator. I don't like to compete too much. Like if we both have resources we can utilize together to accomplish the same goal that we both want, let's do that. Why do we have to split or go different ways or break? I just don't necessarily like that. So
Yeah,
I love that you spoke to that. I think we need more of that in real estate and in all industries, and in all industries.
agreed.
So, thank you,
You're
Krista. Thank you,
welcome.
Krista. That knowledge, me, myself, and our audience could definitely learn a lot for that. So, thank you so much for pulling up a chair to the closing table. We appreciate you for accepting our invitation here. At this point, if you have any last words and or want to tell people how to reach out to you, please do so now.
Well, I guess if there are people who are interested or have questions about the short-term rental market, or getting into it, or just even educating yourself as an agent so that you can help clients, you can reach out to me directly. I'm very easy to find. If you know my name, you can find me. We do have a direct website for our management side of the business, and it's just
Mhm.
eresdirect.com. You can see our properties that we rent there. You can, there's a contact us page if you want to. But I'm happy to point people in the right direction, even if you don't need our management services or my services as an agent. It's okay. I'm still here for you.
All right. And that's all we love it. That's genuine help right there. Thank you so much again,
You're
Krista. We
welcome.
appreciate you. For our YouTube audience, if you've gotten to this point in the video, now's your chance to make us both happy and hit the like button, please. And thank you. Make sure you also subscribe and share the content also. And if you are listening on Apple, Spotify, or any other podcast platforms, please do the same. Give us a like, a 5-star rating, and subscribe for our latest content. Krista, I like to leave our audience with a question before we leave. So this is for you, audience. How do you prioritize your needs and wants when looking for a new home? Don't tell us now. Leave it in the comments below. Besides that, we'll talk to you next time.